Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our podcast pilot episode on drug addiction called Let's Talk Addiction. I'm Sayed Mohammed Zadi, your host, and
I'm Alia Khuli, your second host.
today we will be discussing, if you already haven't figured it out, addiction, specifically drug addiction.
Exactly. Now, addiction brings up a lot of ideas once you bring up addiction, not just drug addiction. So,
Yes.
Sayed Muhammad brought up an interesting topic, which is different kinds of addiction.
Yeah. So, I think that whenever you say addiction, right, everyone does go towards drug addiction. But, I
Yeah, that's
mean,
like the first idea that comes to mind.
Yeah, and there are different types. There's people get addicted to gambling or even social media, very common these days, no?
Yeah, like people most of the time, if you ask them what's their the amount of time they spend on their phone, they would say 7 hours, 8 hours. That's like a third of their day.
Bro, those same people, I think they don't spend like that kind of time sleeping, like 7 hours these days.
Exactly. They could even spend time on their phone cutting into their sleeping hours.
Hmm. But here's the thing, like when it comes to drug addiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
These things they affect them, like it's a bit more severe. So I understand why people immediately go to drug addiction.
The consequences are way more damaging to their lives and to their health, everything.
Yeah, I believe like a story came out the other day that these parents, right? Their daughter was addicted to drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she was starving herself every day, and she was
Oh God.
using money that was for her lunch or like dinner. She would go out to eat sometimes on drugs.
Oh no.
Yeah. So things like that, it does make sense of why people go straight to drug addiction.
Mm-hmm. There are way more stories of like way more damaging scenarios because of a drug addiction. I actually heard a story of a girl. She was inebriated. She was on drugs. She wanted to drive home, and she's a single mother of a daughter. She accidentally put her daughter on top of the car. She strapped her daughter to the top of the car for some reason, and she started driving with her daughter on top of the car, and it landed into an accident. She
Whoa.
drove while inebriated, and it was so scary to hear stories like that. And the girl is like our age, 19, 18.
Wait, so were there any other details? Like, were the police around?
Yes, of course, it was reported and it was on national television. So when we hear these stories, what are we supposed to react? How are we supposed to what are we supposed to do when we hear these kinds of stories? Us as people who
Quite, hon
want to do something about it.
quite honestly, I don't know. That's why we're doing this, right?
Exactly.
It's
Raise
crazy.
awareness.
That's a mother, man. I don't
Exactly.
know if that is someone who loves you that much is doing something like that. I don't know who do you turn to in those situations?
Like personally, I know a lot of people who are addicted to drugs, especially in university and in college.
Really?
Yes, I come from Jeddah,
Okay.
and people don't know this about Jeddah and Saudi Arabia, but there is a huge drug scene, actually.
I'll be honest, man, that's scary. Like, especially the people who are around our age these days who are getting into these
Mm-hmm.
things. I mean,
Yes,
especially because this is supposed to be the prime of our lives, right?
exactly.
Or at least we're entering it. We're supposed to be taking on the world or at least getting ready for that. And I don't know how people even get to that point. I mean,
Exactly.
even,
Yes.
I mean, one of my best friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
I left him in, I left him in Pakistan around 7 months ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
After leaving him, I got a call around 1 month ago saying that he has been shifted to rehab.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
He, he was clean like he was clean when I left him, and around our mutuals tell me like he down with the wrong company, and it just took him 6 months. Like I had to talk with his parents. I can't express what they were telling me into words. What kind
I
of words
can't
they
even
made.
imagine.
Which is kind of like another thing I feel like we should explore in our future podcasts, right? The effect these things have on your loved ones, because it doesn't affect you only, right?
Exactly. There are so many other factors and people who love you, who care for you. You think they won't be affected, but when they find out, it's devastating for them.
Surely. And there have also been cases in which the loved ones were exploited. Like at some point, the temptation gets to the point. I know people personally who at some point uh, emotionally blackmailed their loved ones into giving them money for drugs.
Yes.
And you know, you don't know at what point it gets that bad. I don't think these people know until it's too late that they have reached that stage.
Exactly. Like some teenagers, they think, okay, one more time, or just a couple more dollars, or I'll just ask them just this time for some extra money. I'll pay them back, no problem. And that's how it starts. One step, two step, and then they just keep going backwards to the point where there's no return.
And I love you brought that up, but I think if you take a step back and it comes back to your company, right? Because there's always that, all right, let me just try this once. That big starts
Exactly.
it all. I mean,
Exactly.
especially these days, I believe a lot of rappers they've made it like a cool thing to be taking drugs, and they say like, all right, we're popping pills, it's nice going down
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
route.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, exactly. Like now in media, in culture, movies, TV shows like Euphoria, TV shows and songs, and all of these pop media, they all just talk about how it's cool and trendy to have drugs be a part of your lifestyle. And you mentioned something about us being in the prime of our lives, right? We are
Yes,
establishing the foundation for the rest of our lives, right?
definitely.
People, teenagers, when they hear that we're in the prime of our lives, they don't see it as an opportunity to get better. They see it as an opportunity to do things they won't be able to do in the future. So
Use up their
immediately their mind
energies.
goes to drugs.
Definitely. I mean, again, you said it best, man. Rather than to use the opportunity, they just use up all their energy to just, go into a self-destruct mode in which it's just their take away these things, they take away their entire future, all the potential they had.
Exactly. And they think it's just for a good time. Oh, we're having a good time. We're in the prime of our lives. We're in university. We can do whatever we want. But so many people, they take this path and it leads down to just self-destruction, as you said.
And again, I would like to mention that people don't consider that if you get such a thing on your record, it's not only going to affect you physically or financially, but even in your future when you're going to be
Hmm.
interacting with people, it's going to be on your record. People can
Forever.
forever. It's gonna be stuck with you for the rest of your life. And as people say, trust once broken, it's not easy to come back. It's gonna be difficult for you in the practical life or even in your professional life to be as successful as you could be.
Exactly. To be an active member in society, having that over your head all the time, looming over you, it's devastating. So I think that's why we have this podcast, is that to raise awareness about this, to raise awareness about us getting into drugs and the risks of that and the dangers of that, and also being a part of the society and having friends and family who are addicted to drugs and what to do in that situation. What is our role? How can we help them?
Truly. And I would actually like to get into this for a moment. For you personally, right? Not as us as a group, but for you personally, what else do you want to achieve through this podcast? Is there any other uh, anything else? Or
You mentioned how hard it is for people. So for when they get into this kind of like black hole of drug addiction, you say that it's so hard for them to come out of it. For me personally, out of this podcast, I want to know, you say it's impossible, but are there ways for them to come out of it? There are so many stories of people who have successfully come out of rehab and now are active members of society. I want to know about that process. How did it happen? Because if I'm aware of that and maybe spread awareness to that for people who are listening to the podcast, maybe we can help other people and help ourselves into, if we get into this hole, how can we get out of it? And also how to never get into it.
I mean, that is true. Many people have gotten into it and have gotten out of it. That is completely true. And yeah, I genuinely do hope the same. And again, as you mentioned, it is difficult to come out of that hole because, again, many people are scared of admitting it, aren't they? Like, there's a lot of judgment towards it as well. Like, you used to take drugs.
Exactly.
Really, they're ashamed to ask for help as well.
Yes, exactly. Reaching out is an act of admission, and sometimes people don't want to admit that they've made a mistake.
Other
Exactly.
Other than that, quite honestly, for me, if I
Yes.
mean, I don't know if a lot of people are going to be listening to this, but even if I can help one person to, I mean, like if they are in such a thing, if I can help them get out or, even get their mind there, or if there is someone who can potentially go towards this in the future, if I can help steer their mind away from them, or if my voice can help them at any time of their life with this, that is all I want. Even a single person would be amazing, quite honestly. I just hope I can do something as such. Or generally, if anyone can help if anyone has someone who's struggling with this, and they want to help them, I hope I can help, my voice can help them, uh, help their, uh, loved one in any way. That's all I want.
Exactly. That is very noble. And I hope that too. One person changed is enough because a lot of people don't know what to do. They feel hopeless, they feel helpless. But if we just give them some guidance, if we can give each other some guidance, they won't feel as lonely as they would without it.
For sure, man, for sure. And I mean, again, this doesn't stick to. I would like to mention that this doesn't stick to teenagers only. I mean, again, many people they get, especially if you look when people get into their middle ages, people have like their half-life crisis. They also like they can also switch to this. It's sometimes even when you're an adult, you crumble to the pressure, right?
Exactly. Yes, a lot of people when they reach like their midlife crisis, they feel like there's nothing else that can bring them relief except for drugs or any other form of addiction. And this doesn't only relate to teenagers. So I feel like in the upcoming episodes of the podcast, we can talk about different situations and different stages in our lives that would lead to drug addiction and what to do in response to each of those stages, what is required to do to help.
Of course, I hope that those episodes go well. I'm sure we'll have a good time recording them. And
Me too.
okay, so to everyone listening, I mean, this has been like I've been a bit jumpy and scared about this. That me and Alia, we aren't experts. we're,
Exactly, yeah.
we're
We're nowhere
university
near experts.
we're university students. This is a group project.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
so one of my biggest fears, I would like to say, is that I'm scared that we both might spread misinformation or in this whole, podcast. I hope we don't.
Hopefully
And,
we don't.
and to everyone listening, we will be doing our research to make sure that, everything that we say is authentic. Uh, and I mean, I hope that, everything that we say is true and helps everyone listening in any sort of way possible.
Yeah, definitely. So we just want to have a disclaimer. We are not professionals, we are not certified experts, but we are people who are noticing a problem and we want to make a change. We will try our best to be as accurate and as informational as possible, but do take our podcast with a grain of salt. This is mostly observational awareness, right? We're just taking information that we think can be applied to help.
Okay, I'm
And I
sorry.
wanted to mention something. We're talking about who we can include in our episodes. I
Yeah.
want to include this in the episode. In order to raise awareness, we would like to have first-hand experiences on the show, and we would like to have people coming in who are actual drug addicts or people who are bordering on drug addiction.
Well, that's a very nice idea. I mean, I believe that is, again, the most authentic source that you can spread awareness from, right?
Exactly. I would like to understand the first-hand experience, the first-hand perspective of why people do drugs. I'm not a drug addict. Are you a drug addict, Sayed?
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah, so we can't
I mean,
really.
fortunately.
Yeah, fortunately, please don't be a drug addict. Anyways, I think we can have an authentic first-hand experience being shared with us, and we can comment on that and tell people, break down basically the mentality behind using drugs. And once we break down that mentality, maybe we can spread awareness on how to stop that mentality from happening.
I
What
mean,
do you think?
what you call it? There's definitely that, and if maybe anyone listening can, if when we're breaking down the whole how they got into drugs, maybe anyone if they can see such a behavior within themselves, they can kind of understand the way they're going and divert their path from
Yup, exactly. They would notice the red signs, the red flags.
the red flags. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think we've reached the end of our pilot episode introducing our podcast.
To everyone who's listening, thank you for giving us your time, giving us your ears, and on behalf of our group, please, this is a very sensitive topic. Please stay away from drugs. And if you know who's anyone who is suffering from any sort of addiction, drug or other, please be ready to help them out and encourage them to seek help professionally, preferably, but so they can be taken, so proper care is taken of them.
Definitely. And make sure that you are aware of how they are. Always ask and check up on them. You never know what happens. And always memorize the hotlines that are available in your country that provide care for drug addiction and possible overdoses.
Okay, so thank you for listening to us, and hopefully we will be bringing you more episodes on this. So do listen to us again. We will hope to bring you the best. We'll hope to bring you the best information we can on these topics and how to deal with certain information. There's a lot more. We will be inviting guests, so please do listen.
Stay tuned with our Instagram. Follow our Instagram. You'll be updated about our episodes. Thank you, Sayyid Muhammad.
All right, thank you, Alia, for joining us, and we will see you guys in the next episode.